Good afternoon, everyone. Good morning, everyone. You are joining with the Dhammapariyesanā episode series, and today is going to be day 23. We have a special guest for today. He is David Liu, who is one of my friends, and we got to know, I guess, many years back in Vancouver, and he was a student at UBC, so British Columbia, Vancouver. And I invited him to talk about a very interesting topic that is self-healing through Vipassana meditation. The reason why I invited for this topic in particular was that he shared with me some experiences he had with a recent, I guess, Vipassana retreat he had in Maryland, US. So that was one of the main reasons why I invited him to share with us. But I was thinking to do it in a different, insightful perspective. That is to look at his experiences through, techniques to self-heal, because that's what happens after retreat. To paraphrase David Liu, and he is currently based in New York, United States. He works as a software engineer, but now he's joining with me from Panama City Beach in Florida, US. David Liu, welcome to the talk show.
Thank you for having me.
So I want to normally, say a prayer just before the, the interview or talk show begins. So this is my prayer. Sukhi Hotu. Sukhi Hotu means may you be well, happy. Not even our guest today, but also everyone who is watching this talk show. Thank you. David Liu has earned a BSc. Am I correct? A BSc or BA?
BA,
A BA in
Bachelor of Applied Science, yes.
Okay, a BA in computer engineering in Vancouver from the University of British Columbia, and then he worked in a couple of firms before he moved out to New York, US. I met him in my last trip to, not my last trip, in 2019 in my trip to New York, and we had a casual meeting. And he recently, he's from Vancouver. He recently participated in a retreat in a center called International, Meditation Center, based in Maryland, Washington, D.C., right?
It's near there.
Okay, Maryland, U.S. And this center is, connected to Burmese Theravada tradition. And I hope that you will share with us more information about it. So, David Liu, I wanted to start this discussion with the main topic. So, main topic is self-healing through Vipassana meditation. We have to talk about what is healing first, because a lot of people know healing means, a kind of a physical thing to many. So they think healing is, healing from a wound, healing from a surgery, healing from something like, tangible, physical. So we also know that people have to heal from, mental cultures, mental perspectives. So I think it is way difficult than way more difficult than healing from a wound, because a wound has a certain timeline that this is the time that I'm going to be okay after the wound. Doctors can suggest, and there's a certain timeline. But for mental healing, I guess there's no timeline as long as we are not working towards, that whatever the path that we can overcome that particular type of wound. So there are wounds, we would call them toxics. So we need to detoxicate, in a mental level, in a mental perspective. So my first question to you, David, is that what is self-healing to you?
Self-healing is, for me, it's kind of it's like taking those wounds in the mind and the heart and just sort of giving them the care that they need. Yeah, as you said, like a physical wound, you can see that, so it's easy to heal. But whereas like the wounds in the mind and heart, you can't see them physically, like in front of you, so they're obviously much harder to heal. And it's just, for me, it's giving them the care they need. And what I mean by care do they need is like paying them the right attention. Yeah, just things that might have happened in the past due to trauma or just stress or just negative things in a relationship with somebody.
Okay, so those are instances where someone has to think that they are the wounds. They can be the wounds, and somebody has to self-heal, maybe heal from those wounds, right? So what is more, practical? Because we know that the word self-healing has a tricky nature, intertwined with, the kind of like methodology about healing. Let's say, how can we self-heal? Healing is very, it's very kind of a manifesting thing, but what is self-healing? What can we do? I mean, in short, do you have a kind of a larger, bigger, broader word that we can, because we're going to be talking that later in this discussion, but do you have a certain way that you suggest this is the way, but we're going to be discussing that in details later, to self-heal?
Right. Yes, I'd say personally, I think one of the best ways is through like meditation and study.
In your case, Vipassana meditation, right?
Right.
Uh-huh.
Vipassana. Yeah.
Okay. Moving on to the next question is about Vipassana meditation. So what is Vipassana meditation to you?
For me, it's kind of having first quieted the mind. Is just listening to some of the sensations arising in the body. And once the mind's quiet, you can feel so much that's been going on that when you're in your everyday life, say if I'm at work or on the bus or wherever, it's hard for me to hear and feel those things in my body, those sensations. And Vipassana is just listening to them.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that makes sense. David, would you mind just putting your camera a little bit down, because you are kind of like lower than me?
Okay.
Yeah.
Like that?
Oh, yeah, much better. A little higher. Much better. Thank you. Okay, so yeah, you brought up a nice point, like a very interesting point, that we don't observe what's going on. We just go, as what the flow indirectly tells us to do, right? So that we are missing out on that observation, self-observation. So meditation, Vipassana meditation that you learn helps you to, prepare for that self-observation. So, if we go back to the normal life of everyone, what do you think? How do people get affected with negativities? Because these negativities create the toxic environment, wounds. So what do you think? What kind of stuff that create negativities in people's lives, and how do they condition? When something bad happens or negativity happens, how do they condition? Into a wound.
Right. I find I feel a lot of it is like intergenerational, whereas like some people are like, oh, their parents raised them in this negative way. Like if or like if the kid misbehaves, he gets like beaten or something, and then this just goes, and it's passing on this like this intergenerational wound and pain. It's almost like a karma that gets passed down from parent to child, and then
Go ahead.
and then it just keeps going until like a generation decides that there's a better way to do things. I think that's one of the ways where negativity just, especially when people are young, they're so easily conditionable. So then that's when they absorb a lot from their parents. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
But then there's also a lot of stresses just in the everyday life, like through work, or just like, I don't know, with all the unrest going on in the world or illness and other things, it drags them down mentally and then conditions them in like a negative way to like cope by resorting to things like drugs, alcohol, or junk food, or just sometimes social media. Like some people spend so much time on social media, it's an addiction to them, just like drugs.
I like that first thing that you brought up. It was about an intergenerational wound. I haven't viewed that way. So would you mind sharing with us this thing, intergenerational wound? Does that mean that, something that has happened, negatively to our parents can pass on to us in certain ways? I mean, anger was something like a wound, indirectly or directly.
Right. So it's like, if the way I see it is, if a parent,
You might give an example too.
Right. So let's say a parent doesn't treat his child well, but then he justifies that by thinking that was the way he was raised, or if he doesn't treat the child with love, because he was not raised with love himself, then the child would be wounded in a sense, and then it could go on intergenerationally.
And he will do the same thing.
Exactly.
His generation too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Great. And you brought up this, cravings for fast food and due to the mismanagement of our cravings, and we are conditioned, towards, those kind of food, right?
Right.
Okay. So work life, family life, and food style. So I think they all play major parts of our well-being. Great. That's a great way of, looking at negativities and how the wounds form in us over time.
Right.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Then I would like to go into Vipassana meditation. So I think you told me that in this particular retreat, you first did Anapanasati, and then the teacher, walk you through the Vipassana meditation at the end. So how would you think the practice you did a week, right?
10 days.
10 days in this particular center help you self-heal? You can combine with your experiences and what you did. You can also share with us what you did in the center. Pretty much what you want to share with us about your experience for the 10 days. How did you find this center? And how did you, do the rest of the things?
Okay. I found out about it through a friend, and he was also with me there at the retreat.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like the only retreat center opened during COVID. They had really stringent testing and isolation practices to make sure that people were not coming in infected. So it was good on that front. And then there was like some strict rules about following some five or eight precepts. Just I can't recall them all off the top of my head, but like some in general, like no killing, no stealing.
Yeah, I think most of us know what they are.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
And then but then also some like additional rules were like just turn off your technology and phones so you can be disconnected, and so you don't have to like worry about other outside things while you're meditating. And then like for the first 5 days, it was anapanasati, where we were just focusing on the sensation of the breath that causes through the nose. You feel it like along the upper lip, just from the air moving in and out. And the reason for this was to quiet the mind. So this was to prepare us for Vipassana. That wasn't in and of itself, that was not the main goal. It was to prepare us for Vipassana. And then on, I think it was the 5th day, we started Vipassana, where we were just instructed to listen to our body, but each body part at a time. So it started from the head all the way, and then like the top of the head, and then gradually made our way down. And then we eventually reached like a goal of full body awareness. And each night and morning, there was a discourse from the Pali Canon, and translated, I think it was first translated into Burmese and then into English. The meditation center is just this isolated part of Maryland on this farm, and it's like this beautiful Buddhist pagoda there. And tradition was started by a lay, or the meditation center was started by a lay person from Burma. He was actually a minister in the government of Burma, and he was a student of this monk named Webu Sayadaw. And then him, after he passed away, the sort of vision was carried on by one of his followers, Mother Sayamji, and then she opened like a few more meditation centers across the world.
Great. So, okay, now it looks to me that I know like these Vipassana retreats, they all like advise participants to disconnect from the normal life, especially from the technological life, and then stay focused on what they are teaching, like Goenka centers and many others that I don't know. So I think one of the things that you may have practiced is silent meditation or something. Did you practice silent meditation throughout the time, or it was just a time that you could have done it?
It was like we had a policy of like noble silence, where we were not to talk to among the other students, and we had a set time if we had questions about our practice with the teacher. Is that what you mean? Yeah. So the rest of the time it was just silence, and then we get breaks, and I'd just walk around. Speaking of Goenka, actually Goenka was a student of this
teacher.
This teacher, yes. So and then
it's good to see that connection.
Yeah.
David, how do you think the practice of noble silence can also help? Like, Anapanasati. Anapanasati is kind of a practice more towards breath, and the more you refine your breath, the calmer you are, and that's, I think, what can lead us to enlightenment, that ultimate realization. Do you also think that silence, practice of silence, either that noble silence or normal silence, can help us figure out a lot of problems in our life? Because we always used to talk, like we don't normally listen to other people. Do you think, like, is it something that we can incorporate in our spiritual practice, like listening to people and then talk less and listen more, that kind of a perspective, in order for us to self-heal. Because when we're gonna talk, we are further conditioning, right? Conditioning, processing what we know. Maybe we are interpreting in the wrong way. Maybe we are interpreting in a way that make more new enemies as well. Disagreements. In the United States, when people talk different things, this can happen, right? So better we don't talk that much, right? What would you think about it? So how does silence lead us to, prepare for self-healing?
I found like at the meditation retreat, the center was the most quiet place I've been at, and that really helped foster this sort of when it was silence around me, it was easier to listen to and observe my own bodily sensations. Since leaving the meditation center, everywhere I go, there's some kind of noise, even if it's really quiet. There might be like a fan or a car in the background or something. That's one form of silence that really helps. But then, like, when it comes to communicating with others, I can see how a lot of what people talk about has little depth or little meaning to it. So that's why I found it was helpful at the meditation center, just to not get caught up in other people's worries or thoughts, and then if we have any questions, we can still consult with the experts, like the teachers there.
Yeah, that's a great way of looking at it, right? So my next question about this topic is, now you already done Vipassana meditation in a formal 10 days retreat, right? So I don't think that this is the end. I mean, that was the end of your practice. So you want to, incorporate what you learn into your life. I think you need to gradually, apply them into your normal life, because real life is not in a retreat center. Real life is in this connected, conditioned world. So do you want to see somewhere in the future that this is where I'm gonna be at in the future with my Vipassana practice? Do you have an aim? Do you have a secular goal with the Vipassana practice? Because you've been practicing it now in your real life. So how do you want to see you in the future with Vipassana practice? So what are your thoughts about it?
So far, since the retreat, I've been going about 30 minutes a day of Vipassana, or start with Anapanasati and then transition to Vipassana. And then also I've been, from reading the discourses, or not reading the discourses, but from listening to the discourses, it really got me fascinated more into the teachings. So I've been studying some a bit more on my own time. They provided a lot of reading materials too, so I bought this one here. It's
for that book to us.
Life of the Buddha by Bhikkhu Nanamoli.
Nyanamoli. Mm-hmm.
That's one of the ones I've been reading, and then also during the retreat they talked about the Visuddhimagga by Buddhaghosa, and I might get a copy of that sometime too, just out of curiosity. For one, it got me really interested in a lot of the texts out there. Just because they obviously didn't have enough time to read all of it, but they took out some tidbits, and then that just got me kind of hooked into it. As for my goal long term, I'm kind of taking it more just one day at a time, just seeing where the practice takes me. I'm trying to lengthen the practice to be able to go longer per day, maybe an hour and a half, maybe, if I can get the time. and then definitely would like to return to one of the to that retreat center, or maybe one in like somewhere in Asia, and then.
So you want to sort of like update your Vipassana practice time to time by joining other advanced retreats.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
And just keep it in touch and.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you think a teacher is mandatory for this thing? You think the fact that a good teacher, someone who knows Vipassana, is something really necessary for someone to get this started?
I would say so, like, because the Buddha talks about like the Sangha and the Dhamma being part of the three gems, and I was thinking like how just alone by reading a book, that's like the Dhamma, that's not enough. They need like somebody with the experience, and then an understanding, and to kind of go back to with the interpretation of the book too, just from the teachings itself is not enough. Just like if you're just given the practice without the teachings, I don't feel as though that's enough either.
Is it similar to someone who buys a gym membership and goes to the gym and work out the way she wants? But what if someone wants to approach a personal trainer, and get that person tested, diagnose about one's needs, and then to start a formal workout practice? Sometimes people say just buying a gym membership and you're gonna start that thing. It will not take you anywhere. You just experience different machines. So
right.
it's always helpful to have a teacher who really understands the Vipassana more than us, and then to that's what you're trying to say, right?
Exactly. Yeah, that's a great analogy.
I'm just thinking. Okay. Finally, David. Well, I mean, I wanted to add this to this conversation because you're talking from a practical, way about Vipassana. So Vipassana simply means seeing things as they are. So this is mainly what we can see as a definition. So what happens to us is that we are not seeing as they are. We are not seeing things as they are in our normal life. Instead of seeing things as they are, we're seeing things as we are. This is where we get caught up with a lot of problem conditioning. So according to what you learn from the retreat center and your practice, not even the retreat center, you've been practicing meditation. Remember that when I conducted meditation at UBC and you were a part of that group, that was 9-10 years ago, I guess. So I don't think that you started meditation with the center, but it was kind of like deepen your practice, sort of narrowed down to certain area of your understanding. So let's say there is someone who has little to no knowledge of Vipassana, okay, who's watching this show. What would you say to them? I mean, these are the practical, tips that they can do. I mean, we know that they can always go to a center, Vipassana center, but someone who already experienced this, what would you tell them as practical tips that they can do this now in their lay life, starting from their household?
Okay. Well, for one, is try to meditate earlier in the morning. I found that really helpful, just because just things are more quiet in general, and before I start picking up a lot of my tasks in my mind, like I have a lot of work to do and like messages, just before I check my phone for any messages or anything. That's, I think, the best time, right after waking up. Mind's, I find, the most clear. That's one tip. And
Okay, so the time is what you suggest as the first, and
and then another is to I find to deepen the practice with just reading more some of the scriptures out there.
Mhm. Do you recognize that this, because I know a lot of books as a monk, but
Mm.
from a lay perspective, I would like you to suggest that this was the book that got me interested into the practice. So do you suggest a book like an easy book for people to get into the practice?
Perhaps the Dhammapada seems the easiest
Dhammapariyesanā.
to
Mhm.
get into, yeah.
Okay, great.
Because some of the other texts are much longer. They take, but the Dhammapada, some parts of it just read in like a minute or less. So it's short and sweet.
Yeah, and Dhammapada has 473 stanzas, I guess, in 26 chapters, and most of the stanzas are taken from the Nikayas, other Nikayas. So it's like a place where the senior monks sort of like a bridge, condense the essence of the whole Nikayas. Mhm. Mhm. What are the other things you suggest for someone as practical tips to, get into this thing, Vipassana meditation, so that they can self-heal?
I think to find other members of the lay community too that could join with to meditate. It's very important to find a community in all this support. So then some of the issues to talk about and not just talk about, but then support each other. So then if you're going through struggles, you can help each other. Because like I wouldn't have even discovered this meditation retreat if it wasn't through a friend who was through my lay community in New York City, New York Insight.
That means that you think that having a like-minded environment really helps.
Right. Yes.
It gives a lot of motivation, inspiration for what we already know. Sometimes we know this is good, but we don't think we are moving on because we don't have like-minded people around us. So how do we approach such like-minded people? How do we know? How do we? Is it a lucky, like a karma thing, or is it something that we have a technique to get to know such beings?
For me, it was going to places where I could find them, like at the meditation centers. Unfortunately, not everywhere city has some like those. But I guess there is an online community too, especially with COVID, since the meditation centers have closed their indoor like meditation sits. They've all gone virtual now. So there is an online community to reach out to if you're like in a very small town or something.
Okay, so what you suggest is that to reach out to a local meditation center, get to know people, and you will find out these like-minded people who can tap into your higher mind, and then go for a retreat, like especially a retreat like yours. Okay, so time for meditation, a good text to get motivated, especially getting to know the real essence of the Buddhist teachings, like Dhammapada, and then be surrounded with like-minded individuals. What else can they do? Like, can you tell us something about abstract? Because now what you talk so far is about technical things,
Right.
the technical environment. So, what can you share with us? Some abstract stuff. Okay, for example, observation. Is there something that we could do to observe us? What can help our observation more helpful? Is there something we can do to understand us or look within us? So are there any abstract techniques that we can do too while we are making sure that we are in the right technical environment for this thing?
So I'm not sure if this would is what you're asking, but then also from what we were taught at the meditation retreat, and something that I sort of almost like a mistake I'd say I've been making throughout the years with regards to my practice was trying to get into the Vipassana without a calm state of mind. So that's why they did the anapanasati first, like especially for the first 5 days was only anapanasati, and then even into the Vipassana, we do like 10 minutes of anapanasati to sort of still the mind. And I find without the still mind, it's very hard to listen to the body and listen to see things as they are, as you described. It's like seeing them through a lens, a conditioned lens. So
why don't we say that then people have to start with breath meditation, right? So
right.
while looking at, because we started with meditation requirement time, so they have to start with breath meditation, anapanasati, and then they are reading a suitable text, and they are with like-minded individuals. So this thing will calm them down. This is what we call by samatha meditation. Samatha and vipassana, they are interwoven and they are interrelated. So samatha keeps us calm. That calmness is what we want to become, people in, who understand vipassana, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm. Any other thing you want to share with us, David, today?
Maybe check out this meditation center sometime. It was by donation, and it's just
There's no cost involved.
Right. Yes. Just
by donation only.
By donation, yes. And it's
okay.
beautiful.
You want to suggest this center? Let me tell our listeners the place. If they are in the United States, the place is called International Meditation Center, and it's located at 4920 Rose Drive, Westminster, Maryland. That's the place. Right. They have a website.
Apparently they have like branches around the world, like one near London and some others places like Myanmar.
Their website is www.internationalmeditationcenter.org. So if someone wants to check these retreats out, they can always visit, and they can also participate through their foreign, other locations as well that are not only in the United States. Okay, so thank you, David, and I'm happy that you could make this happen. Thank you for coming to, because you are away from New York. I know you are in Florida. You told me that you like the environment over there, right? It's a cool place.
In New York?
No, in Florida.
Oh yeah, right. Because it's warm here compared to New York right now.
Okay.
It's so cold in New York. I want to be able to just walk outside with a t-shirt.
Okay, great. Thank you, David. Okay, our participant followers, thank you for watching episode 23. Today we discuss about how to self-heal through Vipassana meditation. We've been talking about what is self-healing, what is Vipassana meditation, how can we use Vipassana meditation to self-heal, and experiences that David had, those hands-on experiences he had in a center in Maryland, US. And then we are at a point that suggesting people to start breath meditation to calm yourself. Find a good time for your meditation, because if you don't find a good time, you won't be practicing the meditation consistently. You might do today, you might do next week, and you will be at a standstill. And then you want to need to go a little beyond. That means find a good text like Dhammapada, which is a good piece of Buddhism. And then most importantly, Kalyana Mittas, spiritual friends. I guess the proper word might be like-minded individuals in terms of spirituality. And then bringing your anapanasati, which you call, in other words, samatha practice, into Vipassana, under the guidance of a teacher or a retreat. So this is what you're going to do. And in the real Vipassana meditation, you will develop this non-reacting awareness. So you are not reacting, you are not allowing yourself to to something called de-automatization. So you are not letting your reactions happen without your knowledge. You know what you are doing, you know this is coming, you know this is what I want to do. But unfortunately, what happens to all of us is that we are just letting the de-automatization happen. So we are in a big problem. So Vipassana meditation really helps you to become a better person. And once you know Vipassana meditation, you don't need to bring it to a sitting practice only. You can do at all times. The way when you talk to someone, when you take a shower, when you eat, when you talk, when you write. The thing is that we don't know those activities are themselves meditations. We think meditation is something we have to do. Yeah, we can do, as given by some of the major ways. But let's say you are washing dishes. It is a meditation. You have to only focus on washing the dishes. But if you're doing the dishes at the same time thinking something else, you are missing out on that important part, which you can add to meditation. Okay, so that's what we've been talking today. Thank you again, David. Thank you again, our followers. Stay tuned with another episode of Dhammapariyesanā. Dhammapariyesanā means investigation. Dhamma is investigation of Dhamma. And the next episode will be coming up shortly. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.